Hopefully, everyone is having a Merry Christmas Eve as I'm recording this on that day. And hopefully, everyone has a Merry Christmas tomorrow, or a Happy Hanukkah, or a Happy Ramadan, or for all you pro blacks out there who actually celebrated a Kwanzaa. But for everyone out there, I'm sure that the majority of you guys probably have plans either later on tonight, if not right now, or tomorrow, particularly your Christmas dinners, Christmas Eve dinners, Christmas Day breakfast or dinners, gathering around the Christmas tree, opening up presents, to which the majority of presents for people above the age of 13 will probably come in the form of clothes or gift cards. So enjoy that. But for everyone else out there who finds themselves to be on the alone spectrum of Christmas, for everyone else out there who finds themselves to not be surrounded by loved ones, by friends, this video is for you. Now, there are two sets of individuals who find themselves to be more or less alone this time of the year. Those who have, and by the way, you know what? This is the Christmas Eve special on how to join the elite, part 12. And I'm going to tie this on how this is elite, essentially, more towards the end of this video. But for the two individuals who find themselves to be, or groups of individuals, I should say, who find themselves to be alone this time of the year, the first group consists of individuals who, for the most part, have good standing with their family, have plenty of friends, but they find themselves to be in places that are far away from their friends, whether it's for work purposes, school purposes, any other purposes beyond their control. So you got stuck at the airport Christmas Eve. You're in the Middle East somewhere, deployed, whatever. For you guys out there, especially you guys out there who are somewhere else due to your job, you may have times in which you may have a sense of loneliness haunt you, that you may succumb to that feeling of no one being around you and henceforth you feeling like a piece of crap. Well, let me tell you guys, and I include myself in this category as well. I live 2,000 miles away from the majority of my family and friends. And the reason why I'm out here currently is because of my job. Now, logistically for me, it would be rather expensive to go back for the holidays, and alongside that, since a lot of people in my family are adults, we don't really do too much of anything during Christmas anymore, especially throughout the past recent years because of stuff in the family that occurred. I'll keep that private. But for all of you out there who are in the scenario of having to work somewhere else, having to go to school somewhere else, being on call somewhere else, which will render you incapable of visiting your family anytime during that Christmas. And to a lesser extent, you guys who just work on Christmas for a few hours and go home to your family. I guess it's not really too applicable to you guys. But for the rest of us out here, don't let the feeling of you having no one else to hang out with, or you having no other physical comfort. Nah, I don't mean just sexually. I mean just in the form of just bonding with your family or being around loved ones or hanging out with friends. Don't let that throw you into despair. We all knew what we signed up for. We all knew what we were doing when we moved hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of miles away. And we all know why we're doing this. I should say. This is all for the greater good, for our personal lives. This is all for us to build our careers, build our income, and build perhaps more social time with our family in future years so that later on we won't have to take these sacrifices, or we won't have to take more of these sacrifices. Because let's be real, a lot of individuals who tend to work on Christmas, particularly adults, I'm not knocking anyone who is, but a lot of the individuals who are working on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are usually individuals who didn't put in the work and the sacrifice when they needed to. I'm just saying it how like it is. And for all of you out there who are in the scenario of having to work or go to school or do something hundreds or thousands, not even hundreds, but thousands of miles away from your family, I would say in your case, it's okay to have something to distract you. Whether it's binging on Netflix, I know especially this time of the year, for you guys who are off especially, like myself, I mean, we have plenty of stuff to binge. I mean, I have The Punisher, for instance, to binge, so I'll watch that in between some of these bowl games and these basketball games that they're having tomorrow. And that's another thing that you can distract yourself with. You know, plenty, more than plenty of football games, basketball games, hockey games that we all could watch. I mean, for instance, I'm actually, and I know a lot of people say, well, why should we, well, not should we, well, why are you watching a bunch of games, a bunch of overpaid men throwing the ball, kicking the ball, and shooting the ball, and punching each other? You know, I'm not talking about the ring either. I'm talking about the field. Why are we watching men punch each other in the field and getting suspended? Look, for starters, I'm actually watching one of these bowl games. These mediocre bowl games for Fresno State versus Houston. I mean, come on, can't expect too much. So technically, I'm not watching a game in which men are getting paid to run the ball and throw the ball. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother issue for a whole nother day, which I actually did cover, by the way. If you want to look back at my archives on my opinions on should college athletes get paid, I do have it as one of my archive videos, so go ahead and look up for that. But for you guys out there in the second category, this may be a bit more somber. Well, not may, but are definitely facing, or at least are battling, with more emotional, social, and psychologically severe issues. And when I say that, I'm referring to the individuals who, regardless of how far they are from their families, either feel as if they can't go, or are somehow, for some whatever reason, exiled from dealing with their family. Or in some cases, you may not have a lot of friends. You just not a lot of friends in general. And to you guys, I especially emphasize on not letting the feeling of loneliness mentally overtake and succumb you. It is especially important, regardless of if it's your fault or your family's fault or the neighborhood or society you're around's fault. This is not the time for that. The time is for you to make sure that you don't fall into the traps of what many people who are alone this time of the year end up succumbing to. I can pull up examples. I will not list them all. Some of them are extremely severe. You can probably take a guess. But don't do something that you'll end up regretting, especially for the rest of your lives. As far as this group, if you were the individual who caused the rift to the point in which your family doesn't want to deal with you, then no, well, I'll say this. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the holiday season, isn't the worst time to make amends. I always say, as far as forgiveness goes, and this isn't a knock towards Christianity, but don't waste your time asking a third party for forgiveness. Ask forgiveness from those you've done wrong. Now, if you're in the case in which you were not the instigator or the person who created or caused the rift amongst your family members, then you know what? You're the guys who I especially want to talk to about being the lead. Because we all know, especially in so called certain communities, that if you don't think a certain way, if you don't act a certain way, if you don't believe a certain thing, especially in this time of the year, and if you don't follow a certain philosophy, you can get exiled. Trust me. I think, especially in the Black Manosphere, I think an overwhelming, I won't say maturity, but a plurality of people we have in the Black Manosphere consists of individuals who don't think don't think in the mundane kind of way, the kind of way that most blacks are expected to think. And as a result, some of you might be forced to be alone for Christmas. You may have little to no friends. Let's just call it down the line. Your family may not be on talking terms with you, and you know what? I say that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And especially in the case of you guys out there who have strong convictions that have helped you get to where you are, particularly if you're successful, or at least you're on the way to being successful, I say stand by those convictions. Don't, as I said, don't succumb to the conformist nature of whatever community, whatever neighborhood, whatever family you came from, especially if the latter groups epitomize mediocrity at best. For you guys, I'd say it's especially essential to distract your mind, whether it's through Netflix or whatever, some TV, some books, some good books, or some sports. As I said, a bunch of sports on today and tomorrow. Trust me, you'll be all right. And if there are any other individuals out there who you know who are in the same predicament as you, and this is applicable to both groups, feel free to reach out to them. Go out to dinner, go grab a drink, especially if it's another dude, or just hang out for a bit. I don't know, just have your own Christmas dinner. Whatever you do, don't let the thought of not being surrounded by family and friends like the majority of people do get to you. Because we all know, especially in the modern day American family, a lot of it's a front, a lot of it's a show, a lot of it's a performance. A performance in order for the individuals, or in the individual, I should say, I'll say individuals, to not find themselves being alone this time of the year. That's why a lot of people put up with bullcrap. That's why a lot of people go along with the herd. That's why a lot of people tend to be yes men and yes women, so that they, at the very least, can say, well, I had a seat at the table during Thanksgiving, and I got invited to Christmas. Don't let those kind of people discourage you from falling from your convictions. It's okay to be alone on Christmas. And people who are part of the elite follow this tenet to the T. Especially if they come from backgrounds of people who, let's just say, were of less than astute character. These individuals, the individuals you see who end up rising from rags to riches, usually it isn't uncommon for these individuals to find themselves in these scenarios. And that's if you ever get to talk to one of these individuals who are truly elite. especially those who came from crappy backgrounds. And even those who come from middle class backgrounds or somewhat affluent backgrounds. There was sacrifice that a lot of these elite individuals took. Whether it's working that Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, or being a few thousand miles away and not being able to afford going back home frequently. Look, this is the stuff that separates the elite from the everyday whatever. So, chin up. Help someone else if you can. Whether it's giving your time even giving your time to whatever, a homeless shelter, or an animal shelter, whatever, or socially bonding with someone else who's in the same scenario as yourself. For everyone else out there, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. Well, I'll probably make a few videos before the new year. And alongside that, as I always like to say, for everyone else out there, always bet on X.